Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ben Friedman, and this is the Raider Sports Report. It's been almost a year since we've been in the Raider News studio, but now we're back and so excited to tell you about all the updates about the winter sports teams at SPFHS. Now, this episode will look a little different than normal with both in-person and virtual segments, and we apologize in advance for the inevitable growing pains, but we're excited to be back here talking about Raider sports once again. With that said, let's get started. We begin today with Eric, who is going to be talking about the wrestling team. So Eric, how is the season different due to the pandemic?
Well, wrestling this year, after being delayed a couple months, it starts March 1st, and the tryouts are going on this week. And this year, for the first time ever, there's going to be cuts.
All right, and who should we be looking out for on the team?
The top three wrestlers to look out for this year are Brandon Bowles, Joey Longmore, and Larry Shae.
So you've said that this is the first year that the wrestling team will be doing cuts. Can you tell us more about that?
So in a normal season, there would probably be around 60 kids on the wrestling team, but this year, there's a maximum of 26 kids allowed on the wrestling team. So it should be really interesting to see how the team performs with a limited amount of kids.
So, due to social distancing requirements, how is that going to affect handshakes between wrestlers both before and after the matches?
Well, unlike your typical wrestling match, there will be no handshakes before and after the match. And instead of the referee raising your hand after a victory, the referee will just point to the winner. So it'll definitely be a different ending to a wrestling match than previously seen.
Thanks, Eric. Now we go to Jack, who's covering the boys and girls swimming team. So Jack, how is the swimming season different due to COVID-19?
Well, definitely you got to take some precautions, and this year they're going to be switching it up by, instead of doing dual meets by having two teams show up, they're going to swim at their home pool, and then they're going to send in their times.
Interesting. So who are some swimmers to look out for on both teams?
Yeah, well, we definitely have some good swimmers. We have Matt London coming off a big year last year. We also have other swimmers like Sean Merkel and Mike DePaula, but I think the boys are looking in good shape for this year. And for the girls, we're looking at Lily Hughes, Abby Ryan, and Emma Rute. As they came off a couple of good years, they've been on a hot streak recently, and we're looking for them to continue their winning. Thank you.
So, with the team being required to send in their times, do you think that some teams could take inspiration from the Houston Astros and cheat by saying they got a higher time than what they actually got?
I like that connection, but I think that there is some truth in that, and I think that the integrity of some of these coaches, everyone wants to win, everyone wants to bring home that chip, but this year I think it's all about just getting in the water, swimming. I think there's still going to be some competition, but I think that it's just better that, they're actually having a season. So I don't think cheating will be that big of a factor.
Next we have Sean, who's covering the boys basketball team. Sean, how has COVID-19 affected the season?
Yeah, so this season has been a little bit different for all of the players involved with the team. This year there's a 2-hour max on the practices, so they can't be in the gym past those 2 hours. In the past, leading up to the weeks before tryouts, players were allowed to go into the gym for an open shoot around if they wanted to get some work in by themselves. This year it's a little different. They weren't allowed to do that before and after the games. Maybe if they were waiting for the bus and they wanted to get some shots up, they can't really do that. They used to watch film of their games in the freshman cafeteria, but now they have to watch film at home on Google Meets. So those are some ways that the season has been a little bit different this year.
And who are some players to look out for on the team?
Yeah, so there have been a couple players that have been having a really good season this year. Hayden Witter is a senior. He's been really aggressive with the ball. He's been really selfless, finding open teammates. Raul Lugo is another senior. He's been very good working off the pick, getting open shots, a lot of pull-up jump shots that he's been able to work off screens and get himself open for those shots. Jaden Carter is a junior, and he's been the Raiders' leading scorer this year with 98 points on the season and still 3 games left to go, so he's going to break that 100 mark.
And finally, since fans aren't allowed in the gymnasium, how can we watch these games from home?
Yeah, you can watch the Raiders basketball games right here on YouTube at Raider News. Click it.
Thanks, Sean. Now we're here with Sam, who's covering the hockey team. Sam, how has coronavirus affected the season?
Well, obviously, it's an indoor sport, so not a lot of fans are allowed in. I think they recently started to add fans, but mostly just parents. Hockey is sort of a socially distanced sport, I guess you could say, unlike wrestling where you're on top of each other. So it's a little easier to have games and a little less worried about COVID.
So in spite of those restrictions, how is the season going for the Raiders so far?
Really well. Currently they're at a 4-3 record. They have a crazy goal differential of 32 goals to 14 against. So yeah, they're doing really well this year.
And are there any players we should be looking out for on the ice?
Yeah, definitely the senior captains, Lucas Mackey and Will Maurer. They've really supported the team. They're great captains. I got the chance to interview Will, and he knows that this season is really important, especially because it's their last. So they're taking one game at a time, and they're practicing hard, and they're leading the team to wins. So.
And how are the Titanegro brothers doing this year?
Well, sophomore Anthony Titanegro is a really good hockey player. He's also part of the football team, but hockey he's just crazy at. He's not the biggest guy on the ice, but he's definitely, the way he plays, he definitely shows that he can run with the big guys. And his older brother Nick Titanegro, who's a senior, he came out of retirement. He played for 2 years and is now back on the team after getting a scholarship for soccer. So he's also playing really well this year too.
And finally, since there aren't many fans being allowed to watch the games live, where can we watch the games at home?
You can check them out right here on the Raider News YouTube channel, right around here.
Next we have Andre, who's covering the track team. Andre, how has the pandemic affected the season?
Well, in the past, the track team used to do practices in the hallways, usually running around, doing hurdles. Now they're limited only to the parking lot. Also, meets have been shortened. They used to be a large group of people, around over 100 people. Now they're only allowed 60 people in total. Also, the events used to be around 12 events. Now they're only limited to 3.
And who are some players to look out for on both the boys and girls track team?
Seniors Miles Roper and Caleb Paparaki both were state qualifiers, along with Janai Berry and Julia Jackson.
Next we have Noah, who's covering the girls volleyball team. Noah, how has coronavirus changed the way things go this season?
Well, you see, volleyball has been affected by coronavirus significantly. The sport used to be during the fall, but now it's been changed to a new season starting in March, just before the traditional spring sports.
And who are some players to look out for this year?
Some key players to look out for are Adelina Berisha. She has some pretty nice spikes going on, and the opposing team just can't get a hold of those. And another key player is Kaylee Chung. She has some great serves going on to the opposing team, and same thing for them. They can't do anything about it.
Next, joining us on the screen, we have JJ, who is covering the girls basketball team. JJ, how's the team doing so far this season?
So far this season, the girls basketball team has been fantastic. They currently have a record of 12-2, and because the playoffs are not happening this year, they just need 2 more wins to secure the divisional title.
And who are some players who are really standing out so far?
So yeah, some of the standout players, a freshman point guard, Amanda Baylock, has been lighting it up for them. Their pair of junior forwards, Emily Frischka and Ashley DiFrancesco, have been fantastic, and sophomore center Allie Murphy has been holding it down in the paint. So it's been a great season for them so far.
Next we have Cadence, who's covering the gymnastics team. Cadence, how's the season different due to COVID-19?
There's a lot of changes this season with gymnastics. To start, it's usually a fall sport, and it was pushed back to the end of winter season, early spring. Some other things is that there's a new coach this year, which is a big change because we had the same coach for 16 years. The team's a lot smaller, and obviously there's incoming freshmen. And a big thing is the team is used to having their invitational Cougars meet, but there's no Cougars this year, so it's a pretty big change.
And who are some gymnasts to look out for out there?
So we have 2 returning gymnasts that have been really good throughout their years. Shae Farley, a sophomore, and TT Singletary, a junior. So you'll definitely catch them out there.
Hi, my name is Shelby Kumpf. I'm here with Shae Farley to interview her about high school gymnastics. How was your first season on the team?
It was fun. There were a lot of girls, so we met a lot of new people, and we accomplished a lot, so it was good.
How do you think the season went last year?
I think it went well. We went almost undefeated, and we won Cougars and Counties and took second at sectionals. So.
What were some of your biggest accomplishments on the team last year?
I won Cougars and took second at Counties, and I also qualified for states.
What are your hopes and expectations for this season?
I just hope that everyone stays positive and that we can do as well as we did last year.
My last question is, where do you plan on going with gymnastics after high school?
I'm hoping that I can compete in college.
Very nice. Thank you.
Next, we have Alex, who's covering the bowling team. Alex, how did the season go for the Raiders?
The Raiders bowling team actually did really good. We'll start off with the varsity team. They actually ended 6-4. They beat Union, Roselle, Linden, Elizabeth, and the JV record they actually ended a little bit better at 8-2. For the varsity team, the best average was senior James Middleton, which ended 199 average on the year, which is actually very impressive. They placed fourth in the Union County tournament, which is also very impressive. And the two people that led the varsity team to do this good are captains James Middleton and Elisa Herstadt. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but I believe that's it. And yeah, so overall they did pretty decent on the year. So yeah.
Well, that's about all the time we have left for today. So for everyone at Raider News, my name is Ben Friedman, and thank you for watching the return of the Raider Sports Report.